Hello, hello. Let's see. Today is part 2 of my guillotine project, especially since the State of the Union is about or going to start later. Thought it was appropriate project to continue making. I think I need to make my blade bigger though, so I'm going to be working on that. Let's see. I'm going to get my picture up so I can see it. I was thinking about this all day and what I wanted it to look like and how to really get it to be to look like wood. Let's see if I can do that. Making the head part, where you fit the head right now, I'm just building in some buffer. This is my needle, I'm stabbing it. It's pretty much this craft, that's what you do. You just stab your needle over and over and over again, thousands and thousands of times. And it's pretty relaxing. But also, if you're angry, it's kind of like a damn it doll. If anyone's ever had one of those. If you're just really mad at someone, just angry in general, you don't have a pillow to scream into, and you can't scream outside. My parents used to tell my sister to scream outside all the time when she was younger. And one time they did that, and then our neighbors called the police, so they stopped telling her to do that. But this is another way to do it. Just get a needle felting needle, stab. But everyone's having a good day. It's definitely been kind of crazy, I would say, more or less. More on the crazy side than less crazy. I blended some wool yesterday to make some different colors and try to create some sort of grain or some sort of just texture on looking on the wood. I'm actually going to make some flat pieces to cover the wood so it looks more like planks. Then round, I want it to be more square with sharp 90-degree angles. Yesterday I was kind of unsure because I was just really flying by the seat of my pants and coming up with this whole pattern, I guess, on my own. So in the moment, definitely ad-libbing it. Like to avoid the news. I think too aggravating, too frustrating, too chaotic. I'd rather just zone out, stab this wool, turn it into felt. So they call it needle felting. Take wool, kind of compress it down, tangle these fibers up over and over and over again to create whatever you want. It's pretty cool. It takes some time to get used to, I think. It's not for everyone. It could be pretty monotonous, I guess. Or if you aren't into making your own kind of things, you can always start use a kit and things, but then you're working off a picture of someone that might be super just like a professional, and then that professional or that AI picture of that really cute panda that you wanted to make, it just doesn't turn out the way you want, and then you feel really bad about yourself. And you never want to feel bad after you craft, even if you kind of fuck up. There's always room for improvement and iteration and fixing, and that's what I like about needle felting. It does not have to be perfect, and if you make up your own ideas, there's nothing to base it off of. So there's no benchmark that you can say oh, this is my expectation, this is what really happened, I'm so bad. Like, there's none of that stuff, because you're like, I made a guillotine and I've never made a guillotine before, and I was just using some reference pictures offline of just real pictures of them, and that's pretty cool. Then I made one. You could get real anal about this and, measure this out and figure out like how long you want your pieces of wood to be, and kind of just, again, ad-libbing. I could do that, but I should probably put some wool over the white to just like really get it looking like more like wood than a perfect purple pipe cleaner. I thought even though I wasn't gonna watch stuff on TV or read like Blue Sky or anything, I might as well make something that's kind of relevant. Use my anger and art as somewhat of a protest, or just like a little bit of a healing process for myself, for the day, for the week, the moment. And what I'm doing is I'm covering up the white that I built the base on, just to give it, to fill in the insides. And like wood is pretty, I mean, every piece is different. Every section of wood is different. Like, you never know how it's really gonna look when you chop up a log, I guess. And so I definitely don't want it to look like the same at every inch. So that's why I mixed the colors, but I also wanted more colors to work with. Say I'm going to make more, or say I really liked the brown that I was making. It's kind of chocolatey, with a little light caramel-ishness. So, I mean, see what it looks like in the end, see how much I like it. But I definitely want there to be some differences within the colors. And I definitely want the shape to be crisp, really crisp. I need some markers on my pad to like remind me like where it actually like needle felt in terms of my camera, but still figuring it out. I can make this marker here where the blade is. I guess I could put a real blade on this thing if I wanted to, but I don't think that's the best for when you have a house and there's children and animals running around. You don't want to have too many blades. Kind of wish I had some music, but make music inside my head. I made this little leg yesterday just to show an example, and I don't know if I like it, so I'm going to take it off. But I will need some sort of like base for this thing. So I'll keep that in mind, because I want it to stand up in the end to display it. And I've made an armature out of pipe cleaners. You can use lots of different things. You can use just regular wire. You can use pipe cleaners. You could even use, if you wanted to use like paper or foam, you can really do whatever you want. It just helps create the shape before you get started. Lots of people do it when they make animals or people. They'll kind of make the skeleton of sorts, and then you build and sculpt wool around it, rather than just making shapes here, just purely 100% wool. It gives it some weight. you can kind of bend it to your will depending on how flexible your wire is. I like to use pipe cleaners because they're fun colors, and they're also, I don't need to use wire tools, which I don't really enjoy using. Cover this up, get more blended wool. I just mixed like 2 colors of fine. It was kind of like I had this dark brown that was really fine, and it was going to take a lot longer to like needle felt because the fibers aren't kind of already tangled and curly together. So I wanted to combine it with like a coarser, lighter color, so then it wouldn't take me as long. I wouldn't have to do as many stabs. I'll just cover what I've already done here in white with the brown. It's good to leave the ends loose too, because they just easily get connected to the next piece. But here I want to kind of make it seem like there's some distinction in between the planks of wood. So I'm going to have to figure out how to do that, whether it's get like a different color wood, or brown or black or something, to show that maybe there's like separation. Again, like, don't really have a plan for this. Never really did, other than making a guillotine. Like yesterday I kind of mapped out like the shapes that I would need. Ignore this line under 5, but you got the top part and got some string probably that you can use that holds rope cord that connects the blade to the top part, and then got some shafts here, or whatever you call them, and then where the head goes, you got 2 pieces there, and you got the base. You kind of got 9 shapes. You could make, I usually make miniatures, so that's why, and I only had to post it on my desk when I was planning this, so that's part of it, of why it's so little. But I also just enjoy making little things. I don't know why. Less wool, maybe. It's a little bit more of the frugal way, and I can have more colors in storage rather than just like tons of brown or something. If I wanted to make a really big guillotine, like that would obviously take some more investment in the amount of wool that I need. So when you make miniatures, you can you just have more, you can go further, do more with less. I'll come around to the back. And you're just like stabbing to like connect. So this needle is not like completely straight. There's notches in it, and when they push the needle through, they grab, like little fibers grab onto the notches and get pulled down to tangle up with other pieces of the wool fiber to then create some sort of condensed felt thing. And that's how you can kind of sculpt. And that's why I like needle felting. It's kind of like a less messy clay. Less wet clay. I guess you could wet needle felt and then you'd have to worry about wet things, but I like clay. My sister is a ceramicist. She definitely loves clay. The mess of clay is a little bit overwhelming. I don't think I'm the best at cleaning. Like, she's really clean and very good at cleaning. So maybe she's really good at cleaning because she's a ceramicist. I don't know, but I don't really have that as much in me. So wool's a little easier to clean up. It doesn't clog your drains like clay and slick and mud does. Not mud, but yeah, clay's mud, wet, glaze, mud. I don't know. Don't want to offend any ceramicists out here. I guess if you had to make a weapon, what sort of weapon would you want to make? I don't have the best eyesight, so I don't think I'd be very good with a bow and arrow. I'd have to be pretty up close to my enemy, I think, or target to be able to make the most impact because my eyesight is so terrible. So I definitely think, yeah, weapon of choice is definitely not a bow and arrow. It could be like a really big sword, but then again, like, I'm not that strong. I really like those things that Raphael, like the Ninja Turtle, had. I forget what those are called. When I did find out what they were called, I was like really surprised. Like, it didn't sound like, it was nothing like I would have thought. But those are pretty cool. So I'd have those forky things, I think. Kind of looking at this. It's 2 pieces of wood that has like a little head hole cut out. And the piece of wool, it's a really short piece of wood that's right there. But this is the base. This isn't the part that necessarily comes off. I guess both parts probably could come off. I was gonna look up like movies like that have guillotines in them. Like, I guess any French Revolution movie might, but I can't say I've seen many of those. I saw Marie Antoinette, but I don't think she gets beheaded in that movie with Kirsten Dunst. It's more like pre-head chopped off storyline. But I'm thinking it was probably pretty popular back then. I'm trying to think of like movies and shows that like people get beheaded. But it's like usually with like a big sword. And then I can pull some of the wool through because I want to cover up my purple armature, my wire. Like, yeah, they do lots of beheading in Game of Thrones. I don't know if they use a guillotine though. Chop off heads. Like Nearly Headless Nick and Harry Potter didn't have a head, but then I don't know if they ever said how he died. But then it didn't really work very well. Like, it was a pretty shitty either sword that wasn't like super sharp or a really, really bad guillotine, I guess. So I'm using my blended wool pieces, 2 different colors, kind of chocolatey caramel mix for the wood. Just get some nice like different wood grain going on in here at each different level, or each different plank, just to make it look more real life, I guess, more realistic. I guess I can do this. What's cool about needle felting is like you can just go at it like so many different ways. There's no right or wrong. I've seen people make the same sort of thing, but just like in a totally different way, like each time, and it's just like really cool. Obviously, I can't make the wool super sharp to like chop anything with, but if I wanted to, I guess I could find a piece of metal or use some sort of blade, but I feel like that would be dangerous, and I already stabbed myself enough with these needles. I don't think that's really necessary. So I'll just have to try to figure out, I mean, maybe there's some other shiny thing that I could work with to give it that, like, just to have a shine. I was looking to see if I could find any like glitter or like, I know there is wool out there that's like really shiny and glittery, but I canceled my Amazon Prime, and since I already use Twitch, which is still owned by Amazon, it's like hard to escape every evil corporation that you want to. But I can try to at least minimize it. But I didn't want to buy any sparkly silver from Amazon. So maybe I can find like a different seller that has it or something, and I can make the blade out of the sparkly silver, metallic, and it would have like a shine when the light's on it, and it would just stand out a little bit more. Flipping. So definitely I'll come back in here and like really refine the circle, the head part. And then also like separate the wood planks. I think that's going to be important later to really kind of show off that like this isn't just one big glob of fuzzy stuff, but it's more than that. It's got structure and shape and hard corners, 90-degree angles. That would be the best. And I was thinking I could do like wood, just like really flat pieces like this. And I'm just felting like, or just needle felting like on a piece of felt. It's pretty thick. So you have to make sure that you kind of like, after you've kind of got some of the shape outlined, you gotta rip it off so it doesn't get too attached. And just go on the other side. Because if I make a bunch of these flat pieces and then like kind of put them together, I could make something that's a lot more rectangular and geometric than what I got going on right now, which is kind of just like all soft, like smooth lines. I wonder if anyone else, like if they've made a guillotine, like has it worked, and like how large is it, and what do they make it out of? Like would it be wood? Like maybe like polymer clay could be nice. There's a lot of like cool metallic clay. I think knitting a guillotine would be pretty hard. I mean, you could obviously like paint one. You could make one out of wood for sure. That would make the most sense. Oh no. Okay, I have to pause. I will be right back. I think my kid just had an accident, so I will be back. Okay, back on. Whew. Family emergency. We're all good though. Back to the weaponry. Weaponry. Making a guillotine. Okay. So yeah, I think this is like gonna look better when it comes to putting sides on and having like sharper corners and edges. So I just want to get this in. And then if I do that for like each side, I think that'll help the illusion. I mean, it'll still look like wool, or at least fabric or fiber of some sort. But maybe it'll look less round, less soft, sharper, crisper. More geometric. Oh, I guess you could make a really good guillotine out of Legos. That would be nice looking. Could have like a whole series. Could do one out of metal. The whole thing is metal. That would be kind of scary. I think the more I get these little flyaways captured and caught up and aligned, I think that will look good. So I'll just kind of like loosely put them on right now, and then I'll tighten it up later. Blending, making those little lines so you can see the grain in the wood. They're all twisty and curly. It's not every wood. It's just like straight and perfect. And that could be, if I start even on the mat here. So one color is a little coarser of a wool. It's just easier to, or faster, I guess, to needle felt with it. Holds its shape quicker than the fine stuff. So when I mixed it, kind of created a hybrid. You want to needle stab with force and conviction. Whew. Nothing like a child's scream to like get you just your heart rate up. You need like a beer or something. But all is good, hopefully. Just a little scare. And this one is going to be one of the blocks where you put the head. I don't know what that part of the guillotine is called. There's going to be a little curve to it because that's where the head goes. Pull some of the wool down. I haven't decided how I'm gonna like really show off the different, or like the separation between the planks of wool. to give the illusion that they're all like nailed together. Bent that needle a lot. Or just felt like I did, but maybe I didn't. Pull some of that wool down to cover the white. You don't want it to go on top of the flat surface that I just added to this section, so kind of looking a little like a brown, I don't know, like a piece of weird chocolate or something. I don't know. I'm sure once I refine some things, maybe it'll look a little bit better. Because I'm like, right now, it's not as tight as I want it to be. Still like kind of wonky and misshapen, but I can get that fixed. I can, I believe. Also, this is like the prototype, right? I haven't made one of these before. I don't have a game plan for exactly how I want it to go, so everything is just experimental right now. Lots of room for error. There's no pressure. I'm not selling this for anything. This is just a symbol of my frustration and rage and disappointment and just all the angst. To be like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Fuck all these rich people. On a channel owned by rich people. It didn't start out that way though. Never does, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it did. Push them through. Grab it over here. It's fun about needle felting projects. They always kind of look really sad and weird and until you get like the final touches on them. It's kind of like a painting. It's just you go through like a really ugly phase and you're just like, oof, this is embarrassing and I hate it. But you'll get through it. You just keep going. You just got to keep showing up and keep working on it, and eventually, hopefully, you've got enough skill and determination and vision to get something that's not completely awful out in the world. And even if it is awful, it's like you still fucking did it, and that's something to be really proud of. See, it's too curvy, so I need to work on making it less curvy. I wonder how the Headless Horseman was beheaded. I remember in like the Tim Burton, like Sleepy Hollow, I think they had a story about it, and I think that someone chopped off his head with a sword, but I don't know why. And it was like Christopher Walken. He was terrifying looking. I think he's well suited for the role. He did a good job, I think. That's just, I really like that movie overall. It's kind of witchy and obviously spooky, which is nice. Love a good spooky, not necessarily horror, but spooky. Like PG-13 spooky. I guess they'd probably put some movies in PG-13, but like Not good on this jump scares. Those really get me, and I end up like kind of screaming or really, really loud gasping. It scares my dog. So for his sake and mine, try to avoid those really scary horror movies. But I mean, I'm somewhat intrigued by the substance just because I know like there's some really creepy stuff in there, but I don't know. I'm not sure how bloody and gory it is, and I mean, I guess I can handle blood and gore, but when it comes to something like, I don't know, like Saw or something, like I'm definitely not into like that sort of like torture porn-ishness that they call it. Like, no thank you. So I'm just wrapping this wool around. Pulling in the wispies. So didn't expect myself to be kind of so slow today, but because I have a lot on my mind and a little bit of a hiccup, an intermission of sorts. Again, doing this just blends the colors to make a new color eventually. And gets them a little bit more tangled up. I don't know what my camera is doing. Hey, over here. This thing has a mind of its own. Pull this in. Get it looking nice and crisp. If you wanted, you could use like a ruler to help you just like keep a straight edge. Not that worried about it. Wool back in the, or not wool, but wood back in the day, maybe French Revolution time, like wasn't always the smoothest. Maybe they just chopped up some pieces, sanded it down, did the best they could to create a weapon that would chop someone's heads off in just one go. And we'll do the same on the other side. Pull in those flyaways. If you're a perfectionist, you can get really caught up in this and you could do it for hours and hours and hours, which does happen to me occasionally. And I also have a lot of different projects going, so I think that also helps. So overall, this is going to be just a darker plank. There's less caramel-y color in it, which is fine. I don't really know what wood would be. I guess you'd like stain it to make it this dark, maybe. And you could do this for like, 20 minutes if you wanted to. Just get this really like flat, stiff plank edge going. But I kind of think it's nice to get like the shape going, like how you want it, and then come back and mess around with stuff. I mean, everyone's different though, so you do your process. Which is like, I kind of understand why people's like instructions sometimes for like kits and things, they're like overall like kind of vague, because it's like they just kind of want you to do your own thing if you so choose to. It's kind of like cooking. Sometimes cookers sometimes people who cook, chefs, maybe they don't want you to be as exact, or maybe they just want you to ad-lib a bit, do some improv. So we want to make sure this like matches up with the edge of the other one. Kind of just stab it one direction, and then you'll kind of return the favor and just stab it back the other way. And you do that a few times. It can make like a nice edge. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure. But it's definitely good to like watch some YouTube videos, get some tips, like learn how, like maybe some of the technique, the fundamentals. Because then the more you practice those, the easier it'll be to like make your own creations. Or just say, fuck it, I'm just going to figure it out on my own. You can do that too. Build up this piece of wood. I guess it like comes out a little bit more. Like the other pieces of wood are just thinner that make the head holder. And since I did not follow my new plank thing, I guess that's too thick. I don't want to use that. I'm gonna have to make this like, these are nice and flat. Does this look like it's connecting? You can kind of even like needle weave through. I guess I could come back and do like, yeah, a darker shade of brown, a lighter shade of brown, like something just to do the edges, like even thread, like with embroidery thread or something. It's gonna make it's like a lot fatter than I think I wanted it to be. So that's something to consider too. Sometimes this happens. Your work is just fluffier because it's wool, it's fluffy. But the more you poke, the more you stab, like the more condensed it gets, so it could get a little thinner all the way around the more I do this. I'm doing it flat, and like some people like to do it like a 45-degree angle to have less holes showing, smoother. Like it's just going to be thicker. So there's not as much definition or separation between these two, but that's okay. Again, prototype. If I want it to be tighter, I need to push it in. Like it's really obvious, like in a drawing of like, or like the real thing. And I think it's just too similar of like colors also. Maybe you could use different shades of if anyone tells you they needle felted something like super fast, like they might not be telling the truth. Or it's just like the super fluffy plushy and they just poked it a few times and it's just fragile and won't, like if you manhandle it, it'll lose its shape. But sometimes that works if that's what you're going for. You want it to be like delicate and just a big fluff. It'll be softer for sure. I could totally like, I'll probably see this one through, but I could totally just like get rid of it and just work off this post-it and make little sections like this, and then I would have my piece and I would be maybe more pleased with it. But I went with armature, so I'm gonna stick that out for right now. Just looks like a poop or something. I don't know. I should have gone with lighter wool. Then it would have less like poop. One time my mom brought, like, she went to the beach and like brought back like these like little literal dry poop shaped like pretzels, like really big pretzels. And that was weird. Hard to be grateful about something like that. I guess just some person was selling them on the boardwalk, like in a little kiosk thing. Like, I don't know, it's fucking weird. I don't think I kept that thing. It was huge though. I cleaned my mat. It's covered in brown. At some point, it's gonna be able to be proud of this project. I don't know when, but at some point. And it's like it's getting skinnier as I move up top. It's fine. It'll all be okay, sort of. Just be a really ugly turd of a guillotine that kills little turds, chops off heads of little turds. It'll be in a world of turds. Everything's made of turds. Everyone is a turd. It's like Mr. Poopy Butthole or Lydia Butthole Collins, drag queen. What a great name. So this needs to be more exact. Sorry, guillotine, yours are like pretty fucking ugly. That's okay, I love you. Whoa, shit. Needles flying all over the place. This thing will get some major love and attention maybe, or it'll just say like, yeah, that was a flop. Or I'll just start over and I'll make it a different wood color. Another thing, you just gotta be okay with like maybe some flops. Your first flop. The first flop was a huge success. Sometimes. success at being a flop. Like no one's creation was like amazing the first time. I mean, maybe someone's, but it doesn't always work like that. I mean, it's sort of coming together. I think the head hole like needs to be way bigger. Like you put a head in there. I think once I get the overall, I'm gonna have to improve the thickness of this. I'm going to improve a lot of things. Give it some like stand up blocks. Like would that even, is that even how that would look? That's so funny. Can hold it up for right now. Okay, part 2. Calling it. Alright, part 3, maybe later this week. Maybe we'll chop some grapes or something, but feel free to follow.